Page 7. Broadcasts which were beamed to India, Indonesia, and Java. On September 3, 1941, Major General Erwin Lehausen, one of the top officials of the Abwehr, whose secret diary was among the captured German documents, wrote, "The Grand Mufti, who left Iraq to go to Iran, is currently in connection with the Abwehr II sabotage division of the Abwehr. According to reports from Tehran, he is safe with the Japanese envoy." A year later, on June 2, 1942, Lehausen wrote in his secret diary, "The Italian national, Captain Simon, took part in discussions with the Grand Mufti concerning the utilization of the connections with the Grand Mufti for the purpose of Abwehr II in order to demonstrate the solidarity of the Axis powers." A month later, on July 13, 1942, Lehausen made the further entry in his secret diary. A meeting between the chief of the Abwehr, Admiral Canaris, who was also Hitler's representative, in arranging for the Franco revolt against the Spanish Republican government, and the Grand Mufti of Jerusalem, took place in the apartment of the chief. Lehausen took part in the discussion. The Mufti made an offer to the chief that the followers of the Arabian Freedom Movement, which was led by him, as well as the followers of the former Iraq Prime Minister, Kailani, leader of the Iraqi revolt against Britain, were to be used for purposes of sabotage and sedition in the Near East, in accordance with the purposes of Abwehr II. Wasef Kamal. Wasef Kamal, member of a well-known Nablus family and a teacher by profession, is notorious for his extremist propaganda among his students and for his association with the Istiqlal Party during the disturbances in Palestine in and after 1936. He was a member of the National Committee in Nablus and played a role in the organization of the 1936 riots. Arrested in that year, he soon escaped to Transjordan and later to Iraq. An ally of the Mufti, he played an important role in the Iraqi rebellion of 1941 against the British. From Iraq, he escaped to Turkey. During the first part of the war, he remained in Turkey as an agent of the German Secret Service, from which he received a salary. In 1943, he went to Italy and Germany, where he served as one of the closest collaborators of the Mufti. He returned to Syria in April 1946. He was one of the few Arab leaders excluded from the amnesty of November 1946, because he is regarded as dangerous. In April 1947, Wasef Kamal was appointed by the Arab Higher Committee as a member of a propaganda delegation to the United States. Page 8. Having arrived in this country, he is in attendance at the sessions of the United Nations. Razem Khalidi. Razem Khalidi, member of a well-known Jerusalem family and a former Palestine government official, has been one of the closest collaborators of the Husseini family, and particularly of the Mufti. In 1936, at the outbreak of the Axis-sponsored Palestinian Arab uprisings, he was a member of the most intimate inner circle of Haj Amin el-Husseini. In 1937, after the dissolution of the Arab Higher Committee, he was a member of an underground committee which directed Arab terrorism in Palestine. After his arrest in 1938, he fled to Syria and then to Iraq, where he joined the Mufti in organizing the Iraqi rebellion of 1941. After its failure, he fled to Ankara, and thence to Italy and Germany. In the midst of the war, in 1943, he served as an announcer on the Axis Arabic radio station in Athens. Since 1944, he has been a member of the Mufti's personal entourage, first in Berlin and later in Paris. In July 1945, he returned to Egypt, and in November 1946, was included in the Palestine government's amnesty. Although permitted to return to Palestine, he preferred to remain in Egypt. Most recently, the United States consul refused to grant him a visa to the United States because of his activities in Nazi Germany. Emil Guri. Emil Guri, a member of the Arab Higher Committee, has long been active in extremist politics in Palestine. After the dissolution of the Arab Higher Committee in 1937, he was exiled and moved to Egypt and Iraq. In Iraq, he worked with the Mufti as a member of his Foreign Relations Committee in charge of propaganda. A report of the British General Service of Intelligence, on December 1, 1941, listed Emil Guri as one of a group who are responsible for propaganda, intrigue, and subversive activities inside and outside Iraq. Guri was permitted to return to Palestine in 1941 on condition that he would not engage in politics. This condition, however, has not been met. He has been a member of each of the 3 Arab Higher Committees, named since 1941, and is the political editor of the Husseini daily Al-Wada. He is the organizer and political leader of the underground Arab army, and is alleged to be one of those responsible for internal terror against Arab opponents of the Mufti and Arabs who sell land to the Jews. He advocates that all Jews who came to Palestine since 1918 be regarded as foreigners and be deprived of rights in an independent Arab Palestine. Page 9. Jamal Husseini. Jamal Husseini, nephew of the Mufti and for many years his right-hand man, has been the head of the Palestine Arab Party, the Mufti's party, since 1935. He was the closest assistant of the Mufti in organizing the 1936 to 1939 Arab Rebellion. In 1939 he joined the Mufti in Baghdad and organized the pro-Axis Fifth Column in Iraq, which culminated in the Iraq's rebellion. With the Mufti he fled from Baghdad to Tehran, but was captured there by the British when he tried to join the Mufti in Europe. He was placed in internment in Rhodesia as a dangerous pro-Axis leader. There he spent 4 years until he was finally released in February 1946 and allowed to return to Palestine, owing to the pressure of the Arab League. 5 months ago, in January 1947, at the Mufti's request, 3 of his aides in the Axis adventure were added to the Arab Higher Committee. These were Izzat Darwaza, Ishaq Darwish, and Muin el-Mahdi. The latter was the head of the Mufti's espionage office in Turkey, while the former 2 operated in Germany and Athens. Today, unquestionably the center of activity of the Arab Higher Committee is in Cairo, with the Mufti playing a game which he hopes will bring about his recognition by the Arab states as the Palestine Arab government in exile. The extent of the alliance of the Mufti and his aides with the Axis is presented in the following pages in photographs and photostatic copies of documents, found among the papers of the Mufti, in his villas and offices in Germany at the war's end, and among the official papers of the Nazi government. Most, if not all, of these documents are now in the possession of the State Department of the United States. The record shows that the chairman of the Arab Higher Committee and his principal representatives were involved in an active partnership with Rome and Tokyo, with the Muslim Quislings of the Balkans, and the Soviet Union with Axis representatives in the Middle East, and with Vichyaites in the French territories of North Africa. The documents prove, moreover, that due to the insistence of the Mufti, the extermination program of the Nazis was carried out even in those satellite countries, which were willing to permit the rescue of the Jews. It is to these men, whose acts established their place among the worst of the Axis war criminals, that the United Nations has accorded the honor of appearing in behalf of the Arabs of Palestine. Minutes of Arab League prove Mufti. Head of Arab Higher Committee. Council of the League of Arab States. 6th Ordinary Session. Set the 5th session. At 6:40 of the evening on Tuesday, the 2nd Jamada 1, corresponding to March 20, 1947, a council was held at the General Secretariat House in Cairo. The President, the General Secretariat received 2 letters, the first from the President of the Arab Higher Commission, the text of which will be read. His Excellency Sheikh Youssef Yassin, Chairman of the Council of the League of Arab States, Cairo. His Excellency Abdul Rahman Azam Pasha, Secretary General of the League of Arab States. The Arab Higher Commission has received the firm decisions of the League Council regarding its case. She expresses her great thanks on behalf of the Palestinian Arab people to the members of the Distinguished Council, and declares that she has become more confident than ever before in achieving the goals of the Arab-Palestinian struggle and gaining independence and freedom for Arab Palestine, and turning back the plot of the plotters. Chairman of the Arab Higher Commission, Mohammed Amin al-Husseini. The Mufti's letter to the plenary session of the Council of the Arab League. Cairo, March 25, 1947. The following letter was read to plenary session of the Arab League Council held in Cairo on the 25th of March, 1947. The chairman, the Secretary General, received 2 letters, the first from the President of the Arab Higher Committee. Its text follows. His Excellency Sheikh Youssef Yassin, President of the Arab League Council, Cairo, and His Excellency Abdul Rahman Azam Pasha, Secretary General of the Arab League. The Arab Higher Committee has received with appreciation and deep gratitude the resolution of the Arab League Council concerning their course and the Council's expression of goodwill and concern. The Arab Higher Committee wishes to express sincere thanks in the name of the Arab people of Palestine to the honorable members of the Council and to declare that they are resolved more than ever before to realize the aims of the Palestine-Arab struggle, and to achieve the independence and freedom of Arab Palestine, and to overthrow the oppressor. The President of the Arab Higher Committee. Signed, Mohammed Amin El-Husseini. From the Minutes of the Council of the Arab League. March 25, 1947. The Mufti at Berlin broadcast. To the right of the Mufti Wasef Kamal, now in the U.S. as a member of the Arab Higher Committee's delegation to the United Nations. The Mufti's diary. On his meeting with Hitler. Haj Amin El-Husseini, recording in his own handwriting his meeting with Hitler in his diary, says, the words of the Führer on the 6th of Zulqa'dah 1360 of the Hejra, which falls on the 21st of November 1941, Berlin, Friday, from 4:30 p.m. till a few minutes after 6. The objectives of my fight are clear. Primarily, I am fighting the Jews without respite, and this fight includes the fight against the so-called Jewish national home in Palestine, because the Jews want to establish there a central government for their own pernicious purposes, and to undertake a devastating and ruinous expansion at the expense of the governments of the world and of other peoples. It is clear that the Jews have accomplished nothing in Palestine, and their claims are lies. All the accomplishments in Palestine are due to the Arabs and not to the Jews. I am resolved to find a solution for the Jewish problem, progressing step by step without cessation. With regard to this, I am making the necessary and right appeal, first to all the European countries, and then to countries outside of Europe. It is true that our common enemies are Great Britain and the Soviets, whose principles are opposed to ours. But behind them stands hidden Jewry, which drives them both. Jewry has but one aim in both these countries. We are now in the midst of a life and death struggle against both these nations. This fight will not only determine the outcome of the struggle between National Socialism and Jewry, but the whole conduct of this successful war will be of great and positive help to the Arabs, who are engaged in the same struggle. This is not only an abstract assurance. A mere promise would be of no value whatsoever. But assurance which rests upon a conquering force is the only one which has real value. In the Iraqi campaign, for instance, the sympathy of the whole German people was for Iraq. It was our aim to help Iraq, but circumstances prevented us from furnishing actual help. The German people saw in them, in the Iraqis, comrades in suffering, because the German people too have suffered as they have. All the help we gave Iraq was not sufficient to save Iraq from the British forces. For this reason, it is necessary to underscore one thing. In this struggle which will decide the fate of the Arabs, I can now speak as a man dedicated to an ideal, and as a military leader and a soldier. Everyone united in this great struggle, who helps to bring about its successful outcome, serves the common cause, and thus serves the Arab cause. Any other view means weakening the military situation, and thus offers no help to the Arab cause. Therefore, it is necessary for us to decide the steps which can help us against world Jewry, against communist Russia and England, and which among them can be most useful. Only if we win the war will the hour of deliverance also be the hour of fulfillment of Arab aspirations. The situation is as follows. We are conducting the great struggle to open the way to the north of the Caucasus. The difficulties involved are more than transportation because of the demolished railways and roads, and because of winter weather. And if I venture in these circumstances to issue a declaration with regard to Syria, then the pro-de-Gaulle elements in France will be strengthened, and this might cause a revolt in France. These men, the French, will be convinced then that joining Britain is more advantageous, and the detachment of Syria is a pattern to be followed in the remainder of the French Empire. This will strengthen de Gaulle's stand in the colonies. If the declaration is issued now, difficulties will arise in Western Europe, which will cause the diversion of some German forces for defensive purposes, thus preventing us from sending all our forces to the east. Now I am going to tell you something I would like you to keep secret. First, I will keep up my fight until the complete destruction of the Judeo-Bolshevik rule has been accomplished. Second, during the struggle, and we don't know when victory will come, but probably not in the far future, we will reach the Southern Caucasus. Third, then I would like to issue a declaration. For then the hour of the liberation of the Arabs will have arrived. Germany has no ambitions in this area, but cares only to annihilate the power which produces the Jews. Fourth, I am happy that you have escaped, and that you are now with the Axis powers. The hour will strike when you will be the Lord of the Supreme Word, and not only the conveyor of our declarations. You will be the man to direct the Arab force, and at that moment I cannot imagine what would happen to the Western peoples. The Mufti's diary on his meeting with Hitler. Fifth, I think that with this Arab advance begins the dismemberment of the British world. The road from Rostov to Iran and Iraq is shorter than the distance from Berlin to Rostov. We hope next year to smash this barrier. It is better then and not now that a declaration should be issued, as now we cannot help in anything. I understand the Arab desire for this declaration, but His Excellency the Mufti must understand that only 5 years after I became president of the German government and Führer of the German people, was I able to get such a declaration, the Austrian Union and this because military forces prevented me from issuing such a declaration. But when the German panzer tanks and the German air squadrons reach the southern Caucasus, then will be the time to issue the declaration. He said in reply to a request that a secret declaration or a treaty be made, that a declaration known to a number of persons cannot remain secret, but will become public. I, Hitler, have made very few declarations in my life, unlike the British who have made many declarations. If I issue a declaration, I will uphold it. Once I promised the Finnish Marshal that I would help his country if the enemy attacks again. This word of mine made a stronger impression than any written declaration. Recapitulating, I want to state the following to you. When we shall have arrived in the southern Caucasus, then the time of the liberation of the Arabs will have arrived. And you can rely on my word. We were troubled about you. I know your life history. I followed with interest your long and dangerous journey. I was very concerned about you. I am happy that you are with us now, and that you are now in a position to add your strength to the common cause.